Wowzers.
What?
Let me get my giggles out. Hold on. Hi, friends. Welcome to our YouTube channel, Happily Together. If you don't know, I am Kara.
And I'm Caleb.
And we are very glad that you are here.
On this channel, we are sharing the questions that we are asking and the conversations that we are having.
There's a lot of them.
That are helping us and others build a life that we love happily together. And today we are talking about breaking up with friends.
Friendship breakup.
Because that shit is hard.
It's real hard. We are talking about adult friendship, what it looks like to be an adult friendship, and then what it looks like to break up with an adult friend.
And we're talking about this because just recently on our podcast, we had Amy Weatherly and Jess Johnston on our podcast, and they just wrote a book that is out now called I'll Be There, but I'll Be Wearing Sweatpants.
Great title.
I wear sweatpants every day.
Yeah, and I think most people do at this point in the world.
But it's all about finding unfiltered, real-life friendships in this crazy, chaotic world. And honestly, this is probably one of the most energizing, fun, laughter-filled
we laughed so much
podcasts that we've ever had. It was so much fun.
We just giggled our way through. It was amazing. But we talked about a lot of important things when it comes to adult friendship. And one of my favorite parts was really talking about the qualities to look for in an adult friend. How to be proactive in making adult friendships.
I'm not good at making adult friends.
It's hard.
I'm reframing this.
Let's just name that it's hard.
Trying to get better at making adult friends.
Yes. If you are an adult and you have trouble making friends, you are not alone.
I think I'm a little bit of a conundrum too, though.
You are?
Yeah, kind of like I'm in this package of like,
yeah.
I look like a meathead on the outside.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then on the inside, I'm like, I just want to talk about your feelings. I want to talk about emotions. And I'm also, I think a lot of times people think that friendships would come natural to me or easy to me. Like everybody wants to be my friend, maybe because of like playing football or the things I've done in my past.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of fear around like messing friendships up. Like if I meet somebody that I really like, I'm thinking of like one of the guys in my life now. I'm like, I really want to be friends with you. I find myself trying too hard. And it's awkward. It's freaking awkward.
It is awkward.
So I was very like pumped up for this conversation because naturally, like not naturally, I guess naturally, but like building adult friendships and creating adult friendships in the midst of the chaos, everything that's happening, being pulled in 100 directions, building friendships is hard.
Yeah. One of the things that you brought up in the podcast that I thought was important to note, kind of piggybacking on what you just said, is when you walk in a room, what's the energy you're carrying into the room? Because
owning your energy, because you do have kind of like a say it. What do I?
A persona of like athlete, like you're
arrogant.
Not arrogant. Maybe there is a tiny.
I think when people see me, they just naturally have an assumption of who I am, how I show up in the world, and what's most important to me.
But all that to say, Caleb has really shifted and like walked into a room trying to smile.
I very rarely do I walk into a room because I am a highly sensitive person. I'm a highly sensitive adult, and so I'm very much affected by things around me. Very much. And so usually to regulate my nervous system, walking into a room, I'm kind of on high alert, getting my bearings, trying to understand the room better.
But now you're doing it.
And then everyone is just like, oh, who's, Mr. Krabby that just walked in with the Stone Cold Steve Austin face. You know what that means? Stone Cold Steve?
I just nodded like, no idea.
Like a really serious face. I think he was a wrestler. I don't know how I know that, but whatever.
Don't know that.
But now I am making a very big effort.
Conscious effort
to walk in, to own my energy, to be present when I walk in, and put a big ass smile on my face.
Yep. It's good. One of my favorite tips for making friends, adult friends.
You're good at it.
Is, well, we talk about this on the podcast too, but this idea of assuming intimacy. This is my favorite.
Explain this.
So this is the concept of...
I think you go overboard sometimes.
I probably do. I just assume that we're going to be best friends. But I kind of love that about me. What I do is when I meet somebody, I just make the assumption that we that we could create an intimate connection. Like we could create a bond, some sort of, we're going to be friends. And what it does, it opens my, you're laughing at me, but it makes me look for connection points.
It is good.
So when I'm assuming that there's going to be connection, I'm looking for connection. Yeah. Like if I assume that this girl over here who may be very different than me, if I assume that we could find one connection point, I'm going to look for it, I'm going to find it, I'm going to name it, and we're going to talk about it. So really, I think it's a helpful tool when you're wanting to make new friends or you're walking into a space and you're like, oh, I don't have any friends here. Just having that air of, I'm going to assume intimacy with whoever I talk to. And look for a connection.
Because I'm on the other end of the spectrum. I need to feel so safe.
Nobody's going to connect to me.
Yeah, no, not even that. I just need to feel so safe. So I'm looking for the experience of making me feel emotionally safe, psychologically safe in the context of this dynamic.
Would you say...
And then I open up.
Would you say as you've created more internal emotional safety,
yes,
it's much easier for you to walk
Here's what I would
room.
say. There for so many years of my life, walking into a room or building a friendships, I would be so stuck in my head.
Yes.
I would be trying to figure out the right thing to say, what not to say. Does he or she like me? Did I just screw that? I am just full on in my head trying to engage.
Yeah.
Of course that shit's going to be awkward then.
Yeah.
I will say from growing and doing my own inner work and emotionally evolving over the years and really being more comfortable in my own skin, I can walk into, very rarely do I find myself in my head anymore. Very rarely.
Yeah.
And it is amazing.
So much better. So much better. So that's a helpful tip. Create emotional safety in yourself.
Yeah. And if you are in your head, have compassion. Like, I would hate that I would do that. I'd hate that I would be like that. But I can't look back and say, like, that was the moment everything changed for me in that regard. It's just this natural, subtle evolution and change that happens as you emotionally evolve yourself. So as you continue to do your own work, this just happens as a byproduct.
And as you continue to do your own work and you become more comfortable in your skin, you probably become more aligned with who you actually are. And then you're going to be attracting the kind of friends that that are your tribe anyway.
Absolutely.
Which is what I think we really all want. We want that sense of belonging, tribe-like friendships where we feel safe and at home with our people.
And I also, the one thing I would say too, you know what I've been disappointed about? Or not necessarily disappointed, but what I've seen that's kind of been like eye-opening for me.
Tell me.
I have an idea of certain people that I know maybe from Instagram or from social media.
This is good, yes.
And I'm like, I want to be their friend. That's it. Like, I really want to be their friend. Like, I think that we really hit off. And then I meet them in real life. Yeah. And I don't want to be their friend.
The chemistry, the energy.
It's not that they're a bad person.
The friend-ergy.
Did you just make up a new word?
Yeah, the friend-ergy's not there.
And I think it's just sometimes...
That's my book title, friend-ergy.
We have these expectations and we think that we know, like just from engagement, who someone is. And we have these expectations of how we think that and it doesn't match those expectations. And it's a little disorienting. Yeah. So I'm also trying to like walk into a room with no preconceived really expectations of what this is going to fold out. Or unfold into, whatever. You understand what I'm saying? Because I think I'm like, I thought we would be friends and we're not. Yeah. We actually don't vibe energetically together. It's a little hard or it's weird. I don't know if that made sense, but.
No, I think that's important to know.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Again?
Sure.
Or do you want to take this conversation?
Well, I was going to pivot us.
Yeah, I was going to pivot us too.
Okay,
so great job.
We are talking about breaking up with friends today.
Womp, womp, womp. Womp, womp. This is why I don't have many friends. Because I don't want to break up with them.
That's not why. No, we're talking about what it looks like to have a healthy breakup with a friend. Because here's the reality in adult friendships. We shift, we change, we evolve. We grow. And sometimes friendships hit their expiration date. Sometimes they hit their end of season. Sometimes our seasons go in different directions. And a lot of times we can feel guilt or shame or bad about that. But I think on this video, we want to just talk about what it looks like to give yourself permission to have a healthy friend breakup if the expiration date has come. Yeah. And if the friendship is no longer in alignment for your life.
And I want to like sit with that for a second because when I look at my journey, you know, starting over 12 years ago of walking away from football and really going on a very heart-centered, my own hero's journey kind of deal some of the most agonizing moments, some of the most painful moments were moments where the people who have gone with me and who have, you know, been by my side and supported with me, they were not, there was this definitive moment where I was following my heart and maybe I went one way and those same people were not going to go with me.
Yeah.
And grieving the loss of friendships, grieving the loss of relationship, just like in a romantic partnership, it is hard.
Oh, it's so hard. Probably
so
sometimes harder in friendship because you don't get the same kind of closure. You don't you don't get the same kind of definitive end, where in a romantic partnership, you know, if you end something, you generally move on and find a new romantic partnership. Yeah. Or you go on a soul-searching journey. But friendship is just one of those ambiguous ones where breakups can feel really complicated and messy.
And I think friend breakups can be very chaotic, energetically chaotic.
Yeah.
And so the hope with this video is just to give you maybe a couple of thoughts to think about if you are, especially if you are the one that's soon about to be breaking up with a friend. So that you do it just a little bit more efficiently. So you do it a little bit consciously in a way that just doesn't, you know, fill up your life with a lot of, you know, uncomfortable energy.
Yeah.
I don't want to say negative, but uncomfortable energy.
Yeah, absolutely. So step one, we'll start there. Step one that we have for an adult friendship breakup is evaluate, is the friendship worth saving?
Explain.
So this is a big one. This is really taking inventory.
I'm one that's just like, you're dead to me. This is over.
You feel the end and then you're dead. You're dead to me. This is one where you really take inventory of the friendship and you take inventory and evaluate, is this worth maintaining? Is it worth saving? Is it worth preserving? And this can be one that's worth wrestling with because there's friends that, you know, we have for years and years and years, and undoing a lot of that can be really complicated and messy. So taking the time to evaluate and sit with yourself and ask the question, is this still life-giving? Are we still supporting, loving,
that's it right there,
being in healthy relationship with one another?
Even if I'm not who I used to be, like I might not be the person. It's the same thing in romantic partnerships. Like the person that I married is not the person that I'm married to today necessarily. You have grown, you've evolved, you've changed. Yeah. Right. But the challenge is if you are especially somebody that's very growth oriented and you're evolving and growing and your friend
is
isn't
resenting you for that,
right, or it could create resentment and judgment from the other side of that friendship. And so I think there is, like Kara has been saying, like you want to evaluate, is this worth saving? Is this friendship worth saving? And also, especially if somebody as a friend maybe has hurt you, betrayed you, you know, violated your boundaries.
Or keeps doing that.
Yeah, right. Are they still doing? Has there been any behavioral change? Has there been any sincere apologies? Has there been a willingness to work on actually growing your friendship through these hard times?
And depending on your values of friendship, I mean, I know for us, we value friendships that propel us forward, that help us grow. I want to be around people who are constantly empowering me to be a better version of myself.
Absolutely.
And so if you're in a friendship that feels like this isn't happening, that this is actually feeling toxic or feeling dangerous or unsafe or whatever the thing might be, that's where you get to evaluate and say, is this worth preserving if it's actually taking away from my life?
I used to have a friend that would every time, right, in my days of really partying and drinking and just being an absolute wreck.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much pain in my life. Like I was somebody that would go hard, you know, nonstop from bar to bar to bar, just
lots of coping.
Just a lot of heavy drinking and just being the life of the party, which is funny because I'm 1% introverted, right? But every time we got together, especially when I started to make changes in my life, every time we got together, it never felt, this guy would always bring it up. Hey, Caleb, do you remember when you did? Hey, Caleb, remember the good times when we used to?
Yeah.
Hey, Caleb. And I'm like, bro, that's not who that's not who I am anymore. That's not who I'm trying to be anymore. I'm like trying to, that shit was so constricting. And it was so like, you know, so it was just simply him constantly undermining, and it resulted in what I would say is the next step. It resulted in me having a really hard conversation with him.
So that's part 2. Have the hard conversation.
Especially if you are the friend that is distancing yourself or breaking up.
We live in ghost culture. We really do. We're in ghosting culture, and it's really easy to ghost. It's easy to disappear. But there's something really powerful about owning the conversation and having the hard conversation and saying, this has been something I've been evaluating. I'm really creating space in my life. Whatever the conversation is that you need to have to create a sense of separating, a sense of closure, a sense of
just the space that you need. I'm somebody that I don't love conflict. I will shy away from hard conversations naturally. I have to like really kind of pump myself up to have them because I don't like and I don't do conflict very well. It's like almost I'm the epitome of the guy that walks away and I'm like, damn it, why did I not say that? Why did I not say that?
I think we all have a little bit of that.
Like that is me through and through. So I just don't like having hard conversations. But I also have been on the receiving end of being ghosted in friendships where we were a family. Right? And then all of a sudden, okay, I will respect your decision that you need to put boundaries in your life because it's for whatever reason. I respect that. Just communicate that to me so I don't feel so disoriented. I think that's really, really important, especially if you're the one doing the breaking up.
I think the other conjunction in this statement is that it doesn't have to, when you come into this conversation, you can come in with your mind made up, we're breaking up, or you can come in with an open mind of let's have a conversation, depending on how step one goes for you. So practical example, I had a friend, a very dear friend, and I evaluated, is this worth saving? And I thought it is worth saving if we can transition the friendship in a new direction, if we can create the space for each other to evolve, right?
So you had a hard conversation.
So I had the hard conversation of, listen, I feel like our friendship isn't the same as it used to be. Here's what I'm thinking about and feeling in relationship to this relationship. And I gave her the space to communicate that back. And through that hard conversation, we were really able to evolve what our friendship looked like.
It's been beautiful to watch.
Yeah, and what it means to us and how we interact and how we give each other permission to be a different version of ourselves because we met when we were a much different version. And so in the hard conversation, you can come in with the conclusion of this is done, or you can come in with, is this something we can salvage?
Yeah, and that's why the hard conversation needs to happen. So like I've been in friendships where I don't feel emotionally safe. Like I can't show up and be myself because I get made fun of or whatever it is. I have the hard conversation to kind of evaluate, is this friendship worth saving? And then on the other side of that conversation kind of is a tell-all on which direction this friendship is going to go.
Yeah. And in having the hard conversation, you're being brave. You're creating the space to let the thing die or let the thing evolve.
And the final thing is, especially if you're either in a hard breakup or you're on the other side of a hard breakup with a friend or you're about to be in a breakup with a friend, you said this so well, but just because it's over, it doesn't mean that it wasn't good. You can still honor that friendship for what it was and the season of life that it was.
Absolutely.
And that's beautiful.
We think that when things are broken, it equates to bad. So often we make that assumption. But if we can allow things to end and still hold that place of honor and respect and love and joy for what it was, it's so important to do that, to allow what was good to be really good, and then to recognize, but it's just not serving me anymore, and I'm going to let it go.
Yeah, and like anything in life, where there is loss, there is grief.
Absolutely.
Where there is loss, there is grief. I know over the years I've been able to kind of observe and learn how I show up in seasons of grief. And I have to really pay attention to that because it's in seasons of grief. If I'm not consciously aware of that grieving process, my life can get really, really messy, right? Really messy. So I would just encourage you, like with anything in life, where there's loss, there is grief, create the space in your heart and in your life to heal and to process and to work through that grief. And don't feel like something is wrong with you because 6 months down the road, that grief hits you again, right? You're like, or a year down the road, that grief hits you, right? Grief is not linear. It comes and goes in waves as it wishes. And I think the beautiful thing about the grief that you're feeling, it really speaks volumes to how beautiful that relationship once was. And that's really beautiful. Life is about holding those beautiful moments.
Yeah. And we talk a lot about this concept of creating space, but when you do feel the inclination to break up with a friend, what you are doing is creating space. You're creating space for new friendship to come in, and new things to come in. So, yeah.
Well, there you have it, friends.
Breaking up with friends.
If you haven't done already, we would absolutely love if you subscribe to this channel, leave a like, leave a comment, or find us on our podcast where we go even deeper into these conversations. And we really hope that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whatever season of life you're in, that it's these conversations that are helping you just live a healthier and happier life. That's pretty good.